Good morning, Intrepid Impact listeners. This is Jerry Howard, your host here at ESPN Richmond Radio 106.1, the Intrepid Impact Leadership Broadcast. We sit at the intersection of faith, leadership, and business, which to us are as inseparable as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And so it is my pleasure to bring all things faith, leadership, and business to you every week here at ESPN Richmond Radio 106.1, 6:30 a.m. Monday morning. So on 106.1, you can catch us here every week. You can also find us at intrepid-impact.com. Some of these tools we've talked about over the last couple of months, you can see those on our website, but that's the easiest way to get in touch with us as well. Now, as you know, Intrepid Impact is also a team. So we're a team of consultants. We all share the same language of leadership. We just so happen to share the same faith as well, which is great. And today I have one of our team members on. Her name is Kari Schwear, and Kari Schwear has been an executive lifestyle coach for a number of years now, and she actually represents the connector voice. So her first voice in the 5 voices is connector. So I'm very excited to welcome executive lifestyle coach Kari Schwear from Gray Tonic here with us. Welcome, Kari. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jerry. What an honor to be with you today.
The pleasure's ours, Kari, and I've enjoyed getting to know you over the last few months. We really enjoy having you and your perspective on our team and helping with those clients that we share as well. As you know, folks, Intrepid Impact is a team that came together because we recognized that each of us individual has our strengths, but as a team, we can serve our clients in an amplified way, quite frankly, is the best way to say it. So, Kari, great having you here, but even more importantly, wonderful having you on the team. So I'd love for you to just tell us a little bit about yourself and also Gray Tonic.
Oh, thank you. Well, as a result of my business, Gray Tonic, we do a great job. We're a life optimization company for results-driven leaders. And when we find them in the gray areas of life, and what that means is we're in a place of complacency. We're not living the best life we can be. There's gray areas in all aspects of our life, whether it's in our careers, whether it's relationships, whether it is in a behavior such as drinking too much alcohol, which is my own story. That is a gray area in itself. So there's many gray areas that we have, and it's not a great place to be. But the problem with the gray areas, it's not that bad either. And that's very dangerous. It's a dangerous place to be. So this is why my business focuses primarily on those gray areas that we have in our life so that we can be optimized and live our best life. So that's a little bit about me and Gray Tonic at the same time.
That is awesome, Kari. Thank you so much. And hey, listeners, you know me. I'm, of course, your business coach, your leadership expert, but I'll tell you, you also know that I'm a certified jail inspector. And that was my title for the first number of first shows we had. But the reason for that was because of alcohol, primarily alcohol, drugs, and every other form of debauchery you can think of. So I love what Kari talks about here with the gray area, because I was definitely not in a gray area by the time I went in handcuffs the last time, but I can tell you that it began in the gray area. And that's why I love that she pointed out how dangerous that gray area can be, because if you're going to know yourself and lead yourself, as we've talked about, you really need to understand that the gray area is a slippery slope. So I champion you, Kari, for taking on that, because if more people had an understanding of that gray area, I think there would be less certified jail inspectors out there. And, and not only that, 70% of those individuals that are incarcerated right now were under the influence of alcohol and drugs when they committed those crimes. So if we could have picked them up in the gray area, I mean, the jail system certainly wouldn't be as burdened. And so I think you do a great thing out there. And I'd love to know more about Gray Tonic and really what is your primary goal when it comes to not only finding clients who's a good fit for you, but also what process do you take them through?
Well, my ideal client is somebody who is ideally over 50, just about to turn 50. There's something that happens. There's a magical switch that happens in our head when we reach this magical number of 50. And so a lot of my clients are over the age of 50 or just about to turn 50. And most of them are business owners or entrepreneurs or high-level C-suite executives where they check all these boxes of life. Like got the car, got the house, got the kid, got the marriage, but there's no gotten anything inside. In other words, their soul is feeling empty. They know something is missing. And therefore, because of their identity, they have this outward perspective of everything's going great. They feel very empty inside. And because of that, that leads them to look the other way when it comes to maybe their spouse, maybe they're looking elsewhere.
Mm,
Perhaps they are abusing alcohol or tobacco or drugs, or maybe they're into porn or gambling. Maybe it is overeating. Maybe there's some sort of behavior that's self-sabotaging, as we say. But it also could be maybe their career. I have some clients that own their own businesses and they're at that place where, yeah, they're mega successful, but it's not fulfilling them anymore. The thrill of getting the business to be successful was enough for the driver. Now that it is, it's not enough anymore. So now they've leveled off and there's a gray area in their business world as well. So this is what I mean. The gray area covers many aspects of our life. So it's really focusing on that. So the process in which I take them through is I really focus on number one, why?
mm.
Why is this important to you? What is your why? So I take all my clients and pretty much everyone I speak to through a system called the 5 Why system. Are you familiar with it, Jerry?
I believe it's ask you why 5 times. Is that right?
That's it. Yeah. So I ask the question 5 times why. And when we ask the question why 5 times, and why is this important to you? So to give you an example, I just did a big workshop for a national hotel chain. And so it was all hotel property owners. And I said, why was this important to you to own a property? Well, it started off with, well, because I wanted to make money, right? This is a very common answer. So why is that important to you? Why is making money important to you? And then that led to, well, freedom. And then that led to the next question, the next question. And ideally, by the time we got to the fifth one, we're somewhere along the lines of legacy. We're on the lines of impacting others. We all have this innate desire inside of us to want to do so much in the world. We know that we're driven for some sort of purpose, but we don't know how to get there. So when we start with this question, why, and we go the 5 layers deep, we start to get to the root of it. And now we have a roadmap. We have this destination. And I use a lot of car analogies in my coaching because I'm a huge car girl. So I use a lot of car analogies. And so we really spend time, where are we headed? And we want to not ignore our past, but we want to know that it's in the rearview mirror. But we can learn from our past and we can realize that things happened for us, not necessarily to us. And when we start to redirect and reframe and refocus on the things that are most important to us, then everything starts to shift. And then, yes, then we focus on their habits. We talk very much about key performance habits and how to really build them up and edify themselves and get them on a good plan and a good path forward. And that's a lot of the work that I do, but I help them in all areas of their life, whether it is their marriage or their career or their spirituality, even, of course, their habits and everything in between, even their relationship with their kids.
That's important. That's so
Yeah.
important. I love that you're helping people in that bracket too, because a lot of times you've got individuals that may be younger or early on in life that would look up to them and think, wow, that's what success looks like. But if that
Yeah.
person's hollow inside, then they really are creating a legacy that just perpetuates that whole problem. And it sounds like you're raising up great leaders in that regard. And I love how you're helping them reframe. That's another thing that I like to say about being a certified jail inspector is just a reframing of all that,
Yes.
all that nonsense, right? And I'll tell you, it was actually in counseling. This is a number of years ago. And I recommend counseling for anybody because we all have what I call the PTSD of life. Being a
Mhm.
veterans, use that word a lot or that acronym a lot, but we all have those things, whether it was something that was done to us or something that we did, more so in my case in that regard, it affects
Mhm.
us and traumatizes us, especially if the outcome was severe or negative or something we just totally didn't expect. And I think that when you reframe those experiences to something that was done for us, they become those become the gifts that you were given for the wisdom.
Yes.
Yeah, I love
Yes,
it.
100%. We have to be able to use our mess into something. Otherwise, it was a waste of it. We
Mm,
have to be able to find there's a gift in everything, whether it's a learning, a setup, a redirection, or a refocus of some sort, right? There's always a learning or a gift that is there. There's always a blessing. to be found, and we just need to take time to find it. We might not be able to do it when they're in the middle of it. That's really hard to do. I get that. But by the time we move through it, there's a reason for it. And we are meant to use that for our gifts and for our purpose. And it's tapping into that wisdom to do it. And it's, like I said, it's not always easy in the moment, but once things settle down and you really can refocus and start to think, why did this happen? What was the gift for me? There's always something that you can pull out. We just need to look for it. And that's been a huge gift for my clients and for myself, honestly, to find out the reasons why this all happened to me. I had a kind of a crazy, rocky childhood and went to 12 different schools in 9 years and
Mm,
felt like I was the victim my entire life. And like, it's always happened to me. This is, I'm always the bad kid, the rebel, all this stuff, which is why I chose and choosing, notice I use that word, I chose to take the path that I did because I had this identity of, well, I must be this bad kid. I must be this rebel. I'm all this, right? And because I thought that way, it affected my behaviors, and my behaviors showed up in the way that I believed about myself. So a lot of what I do with my clients, my executive clients particularly, is that they have this identity that they are the top dog,
mm,
and they have to hold this posture about themselves, and it's really tiring at times, to hold up this facade that they don't really feel that way inside. So what I help them do is, yeah, we're going to tap into how you really feel inside, because then that starts to impact not only you as the client or the individual, but your team, and more importantly, your family.
yeah.
The best compliment I get from my clients is when they say, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait to tell you what happened with my son or my daughter." And they show me an example of how they've changed and how they're perceiving something and how they're now coaching their kids. And those kids are getting the benefit too. And I'm like, yes, that is the whole point of coaching somebody, is to have that trickle down effect. Everything
Yeah.
that I teach, I want them to go teach to others. I
Yeah.
want them to start filling up others. That's the whole goal of this. So we can
That's
uplift millions together.
absolutely. I love that you said that because, of course, you know this as Intrepid Impact team member. But, folks, if you just tuning in, we're here at ESPN Richmond Radio 106.1, the Intrepid Impact Leadership Broadcast. And Kari Schwear's with us. She's the owner and founder of Gray Tonic, and they help executives 50 and older typically move out of the gray areas of all parts of their lives. And I was very excited to hear her say multiplication. And if you've tuned in before, you know that we talk a lot
Mm.
about multiplication. If you're a leader, whether you're leading yourself, your family, your community, team, organization, etc., you are not going to develop any kind of long-term influence if you don't start to multiply yourself, because if everything depends upon you, you're only so limited. And that's why I love that we spent so much time on the 5 voices. And Kari spoke a little bit about that multiplication effect. And Kari, I think it's great to segue into the voices, because we had you on today, not only because you're an amazing lifestyle coach, but because you share that first voice connector. And I'd love to hear more about your thoughts on that. And folks, as a reminder, if you don't know, connectors are champions of effective communication. And if you've only been tuning in today, you know, and you can tell that Kari is a very effective communicator, team collaboration, and relational networks. And so, Kari, can you speak to us a little about what it's like to live life as a connector, or anything you want to say about that particular voice?
Yeah, I love connectors. Can I say that? Because I
They're
am
so
one.
fun.
They're so much fun. Listen, you get two connectors together and you're going to be together for a while, because like we all like to talk, right? And
That's right.
yeah, there's something about the warmthness of a connector.
Mm,
It's funny because we all have our weapons. I don't know if you've covered any weapons with the voices, but you know, I'm not real fond of our weapons that we have though, because they can be, you know, but we all have them.
yeah.
We all have this, darker side to us that comes out. But the beautiful thing about knowing what type of voice that you are is that you have this awareness, and awareness is truly power. Having awareness is better than, it's knowledge, yes. But here's the thing with awareness. And I like to say, you can have your own personal AI. Now, I can't claim this for myself as Kari's, but there was a coach that I worked with briefly. His name is Brian Bogart, and he's an amazing coach. And he's the one who coined this term. your own personal AI, which is awareness paired with intentionality. And I
Mm.
love this because when we know who we are to the core, right? We know who we are and we pair it with what our intentions are, and our intentions give us direction. Our intentions are like micro wins. I spend a lot of time talking about intentions with my clients. Intentions over goals. Intentions get us to our goals. When we focus too big on the goals, those are future based versus present based. We get very lost and we can feel like they're overwhelming and they're really hard to accomplish. But when we focus every day, what's my intention for today? Is my intention to show up as the best possible leader and human being that I can? Is my intention to pour into others and love on others and care for them as best as I can? Is my intention today to avoid alcohol and eat clean and healthy and exercise and pour into myself? Is my intention today is to show my spouse and my kids how much I love them by sending them a text or leaving a sticky note on the desk for them? These are like small wins that get us to those bigger goals, those big lofty goals, as I call them. So think about pairing awareness with intentionality, and now you have your own AI. So the five voices really does that for us. It really gives us a roadmap of like looking inward and saying, wow, okay, yeah, that is kind of who I am. And I can see how this is going to benefit me. And I also am aware of these weapons that we have. We all have the little bit of a dark side to us.
Yeah.
And when we know when it's coming out, we can start to peel it back. And so that's what I would say about the five voices in general. And of course the connector. So
That's
yeah.
excellent. That's excellent. I love that you talked about that as the dark side. In fact, the weapons start with that intentionality, because when we become and all our listeners know, if you tuned in the last 12 or so weeks, there's difference between an accidental leader and an intentional leader. And these tools that we're discussing here, folks, are developed by a company called Giant Worldwide. You should check them out on their website. Just type in Giant Worldwide and it'll come up in any search engine. But she talked about weapon systems, and that's the key. Your weapon system is how you accidentally interact with the world when you are not thinking, and probably when you're mad, sad, or upset, or we always say, if you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, if you've been in the recovery circles for a while, halt, right?
Yeah.
Jerry has to remember that. In fact, yesterday my weapon system was deployed because I was hungry. I get to working after church and I forgot that I was supposed to eat. That happens to me too frequently. I love that you talked about the personal AI. That's such a great way to remember being aware and developing that intentionality. That's excellent. And whether you coined it or not, you get credit for it here on the Intrepid Impact Leadership Show. So thank you for
Yeah,
bringing
it's
that
great.
bit of wisdom. And folks, as you
Sure.
can see, Kari is very experienced and very aware, not only of her process, but also her own weaknesses. And I love how that awareness is able to develop systems in her programming. So if you listened in at the beginning, she talked about her process. Well, that's 100% Guardian right there. If you've listened to the Guardian voices, we've talked about systems, processes, organizational efficiency. But you can see, but if you remember, folks, I talked about that's the nemesis voice of the connector. That's the complete opposite. But a healthy leader like Miss Kari Schwear here can certainly speak that voice. And so that's the nugget there, folks, is we all speak all five. Some are more natural than others, but what we want you to always remember is being intentional and decide not to deploy that weapon. And then you can develop that habit of just, holstering that rifle or putting the grenade launcher away.
Yeah. Can I give a tidbit there? I
Totally.
would
Yeah.
love to. So I have a whole process for this, which we don't have time to go into, but a quick version of it
Yeah.
is stop, pause, reflect before you act. Stop to pause, reflect before you act. Because here's the deal. Our thoughts create feelings. And those feelings, when we don't feel good and we're angry, we're upset, we want to like kill someone, cut someone off, yell at them, whatever, or cry, whatever it is, right? Whatever the emotion is, whatever this feeling is, that drives an action.
Yeah.
So if we can just take a step back, matter of fact, I ask my clients, I use my own tool for that is called Saber. And like I said, we don't have time to go into it, but stop is the S. So when you can say stop out loud to yourself, either to yourself or out loud, you literally cut off this thinking enough of a moment where it gives you space. And in that space, you can take a step back and you can pause and you can reflect on what it is that you're actually thinking. And it gives you this moment before you act upon it and before you do something or say something that you're going to regret. So stop, pause, reflect before you act. Remember that next time you're like, oh, you're so frustrated, because guess what? We all feel that way at times, and it's normal. It's so normal. We all have this dark side that comes out, and these thoughts that create these feelings for us, and it happens. And the best way to do that is to say stop and give yourself that little bit of a break before you actually do something.
Kari, that is amazing. And I can tell you what, if anybody's listening right now, they are leaning in hard on that. So now's a perfect time to get them to go where they can find you. Can you tell our listeners where the best place to find you is? Because somebody out there is leaning in right now and they're like, oh, I gotta reach out to her. I know it. What's the best place for people to find you? Yeah, absolutely.
I would say my website, which is Gray Tonic, Gray, by the way, Gray Tonic is one word. And yeah, I have to say, because Gray Tonic, gray is spelled with an A here in the United States, and it's spelled E everywhere else in the world, but it's Gray, which is so fun. And Gray Tonic really started, the name is from the gray areas, and tonic meaning not a medicinal drink for a mixer, but tonic means a strengthener, a pick-me-up, a boost, an energizer, invigorator. So you can think of me as the tonic to your gray areas in your life.
Nicely done. That's great. Folks, you can see she's got a wealth of knowledge and experience in leading people to their better selves. So yes, definitely check out, and it's graytonic.com. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That's awesome. So graytonic.com is how you can find Kari Schwear. And I love to point that out now. We've still got a couple more minutes. So Kari, I'd love to hear about how faith plays into your practice. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, faith is a huge part of my practice. So I kind of go through the side back door, so to speak, with my clients. I first get a temperature check on where they are, and I meet them where they are. So if they are like, nope, don't believe in anything, got it, perfect. I actually like that, because then I know I have an opportunity to slowly introduce some sort of concept, right? But whether they are, if they have shared the same faith or they don't, I mean, I have clients from, all over. I mean, I've had a client that is from Afghanistan, for example, and they have a completely different, most anyways, have a complete different faith system, and that is okay too. So it doesn't matter what faith it is or what religion it is. It's about, what do you feel inside? It's about being connected to your creator. And so I do spend a decent amount of time influencing by little suggestions. And honestly, Jerry, I show up as my authentic self, and anybody who's around me long enough will know that you pretty much know where I lie with that, and where my faith is, and how strongly I am connected to God, and how that plays a big part in my business.
That's excellent. And folks, you know that at the Intrepid Impact Leadership Show, we sit at the intersection of faith, leadership, and business, and we believe they are as inseparable as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And I've talked about that before. And the reason why that's so important is because if you're in business, you're going to have some kind of vision. Even if you're not the leader, you still have to lead yourself. And leading yourself is understanding where you're going next. Well, if you have a vision for your life, that door you're going to walk through or that elevator you're going to get on is going to go where you push the button for, then you can understand even just the most basic concept of faith. And then, of course, leadership, we're leading teams, we're leading ourselves most importantly. And then, of course, business is how we all interact together. And in America, and even in the world now, the world has generally adopted a freedom-based mindset, in the sense that most people know it's a good thing. Now, whether you're in countries that don't have that as part of their political system, of course, that's a shame. But at the same time, I think we all generally understand that that is a good thing, to have that liberty. And some people don't necessarily buy that particular brand of both faith and politics. But I can tell you now that living your best life is definitely something that Kari and Gray Tonic can get you to. But you'll always find those types of ways to lead yourself, or to know yourself, to lead yourself, on the Intrepid Impact Leadership broadcast. Kari, we still have a minute or so left. I'd love for you to tell us any parting words.
Well, I would like to just give some little hope and inspiration to the listeners, that if you are feeling the weight of the world, and you're feeling like you are hiding behind a mask, and you are truly not living authentic to who you know that you could be, you might have a gray area. And it's okay if you do. Start asking the question, like, where am I starting to feel not complete? Where am I starting to see that I'm doing things that I'm not really proud of myself for doing? And where can you start to lean into that a little bit further? Because it's a good thing to start having awareness. There are 6 stages to making some sort of change. And the first one is a pre-contemplation. Then we move into contemplation. And that contemplation is the place that we start getting curious. So if that's where you are, great. And then you move into preparation where you might want to actually doing research to make that change. And then you finally take some action. And then there's a couple more steps after that. But it really does start with questioning where you are, questioning why you want to make a change and the reason why you're unhappy. And that's where it all starts. And once you get there and you're ready to take action, then you do something about it. And then that's when I'm ready for you.
That's
Or
excellent.
someone else who might fit for you. So yeah,
That's
don't
good.
ignore it.
That's really good, Kari. Thank you so much for that. And folks, again, graytonic.com, spelled GRAYTONIC.com is how you can find Kari Schwear. You can also find her on LinkedIn. And even if you just follow her LinkedIn post, I can tell you right now, you're going to learn something, because I learn something every time I read a new one. And I love that she stays active with her followers. That's so important. I definitely can take a note or two from that. But hey, again, folks, great show, but really great having you here on the broadcast, Kari. Thanks so much. And if you're just tuning in, we're here at ESPN Richmond Radio 106.1. We're here every Monday mornings at 6:30 a.m. And this is the Intrepid Impact Leadership broadcast. You can know us from faith, leadership, and business. But more importantly, like Kari said, we want you to be asking questions. Asking questions is the beginning to that change. And that's what Intrepid Impact's all about. So you can find us here next week at 6:30 a.m. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you then.